welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for Leo season, or July, August 2026, whatever your paradigm is. I'm here for it, and I'm here for you as well, Libra. So I hope you are well. We're using the Bulgarian deck for you today, the 777. Before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via links in the description box below. The link to Selfie will take you to the standalone extended for this video here, but if you would like access to more of the extended content that I produce, you might consider coming over to join my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix on the Circle platform. There you can access all of the extended readings for all of the signs every month, obviously. You get access to the weekly energy readings that I do, which run anywhere from 45 minutes up, depending on how intense the energies of the moment are. You can participate in the Deccan Walk, which has proven to be nothing short of life-changing at this point, I have to say, for everyone who's participating in it. And if you join at the higher tier, you can come participate in the live classes that we run over there and get access to the vast database of all of the classes that we have run in the last 18 months. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you might also be interested to know that there's a week's free trial so you can see if you like it. And I hope that you will stay if you do. Anyway, with all of that said, let's flip the camera around. Let's tidy up the mess that I've made while I wasn't paying attention and have a chat about what it is we're actually going to be doing here for the next 40 minutes or so. The first thing we'll do is ask ourselves the most important question that we can ask ourselves in 2026, which is, where am I right now? Not what am I worried about, just where am I? And from there, somewhat inspired by the Deccan Walk, we're going to be looking at some Leo themed stuff, right? So interestingly, there doesn't seem to be a consistent theme with how this is showing up for each of the signs. For Sagittarius, it was kind of, where's the sticky stuff coming in, based on the fact that the 5, 6 and 7 of Wands are the cards that represent Leo in the minor arcana. But I think what I might say instead is, where is there a push needed for embodiment for you this season? I think, like, how do we really integrate what it is that we know? Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Well, we'll keep it kind of loose and see what comes up. The final set of questions final question that we will ask with the final set of cards is, what is the next step? We don't need to worry about, where we're going to be in a year, 2 years time. We just need to know where's the next place that we put our foot down. So I hope that's okay for you. This is what I have. Let's start with where Libra is right now. Goodness, right. So we've got the Page of Swords in reverse. Wir haben also the Wheel of Fortune. One more, please. And the Four of Swords on its side. Oh, it's really interesting. I do feel, I don't know if exhaustion is quite the right word, but there's something kind of tired about you at the moment, Libra. Like, you don't feel full of the joys of summer and whatnot. You feel kind of weighted down a little bit. It came up in the meditation before I started your reading, but I'm also seeing shades of it here. You seem to be kind of lost in thought, really. And the interesting thing is, it does not seem to be based in a need for more information. It's more, it seems to be circling more this idea of kind of putting together the information that you already have. There's a sense that there's something that's just out of reach. It's just eluding you and you can't quite see what it is. And I think Libra is a special case in the same way that Sagittarius is, because we have these, in both instances, your houses are relatively empty right now. Let's say, like, the house that contains Libra, it's going to be in a different place in everybody's chart, obviously, but there's nothing major going on in Sagittarius and there's nothing major going on in Libra, but everything else is going on in the signs of Leo and Aries and Aquarius and Gemini. Go. lost it there for a second. In so much as we've got some major shifts, some major ingresses, major things happening. And just as I pointed out to Sagittarius, that it, when you have 3 signs that are connected by elements, so Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and also Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, whatever's going on in any of those houses has an effect on the other 2 within the trifecta, right? So we have Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries. We have Jupiter newly arrived in Leo, but we're also going to be having a solar eclipse there, and having the South Node there. And then, but that energy goes somewhere. And I do feel, particularly after doing Sagittarius's reading, that a lot of the energy within those 2 signs of the same element is being beamed into Sagittarius somehow. And I feel like the same is true here for you, Libra, where, there's nothing major going on in the Libra house, but Aquarius and Gemini have Pluto and Uranus in there respectively. And that a lot of the things that are changing and shifting in those will be beamed directly to Libra. Now, I haven't heard anybody else say this. This is just my take on how it works. And I feel somewhat emboldened to say this on account of the fact that the Wheel of Fortune is turning here for you, Libra. But it seems to be happening on such a scale that you're not actually even noticing it at this point, if I can put it that way, right? We've got 2 swords cards here. This is air, this is your element. But neither of them seem to be functioning in the way that we would like. We've got the 4 of swords here. We've got the Page of Swords here, neither of them in the upright. The only one that we do have in the upright is the Queen of Wands, representing the sign of Aries, actually. But for me, the Queens are making sense of why we do things. The one suit is all about experience and action and doing very much. It's a very active element, full stop, or suit, full stop, rather. But the Queens are the internal subjective processing, almost, if you will, of what it is that we do, right? And the do bit comes with the King of Wands, with that masculine expression of the energy. It's very active, it's very orderly, it's doing things. But he does things off the back of what the Queen is telling him, the information that the Queen is processing, saying, this is why we're doing this. This is our drive, this is our motivation, this is our reasoning, and this is what we have to do. And then the King actions it. Makes the Queen all the Queens actually, important pivot points for the quality of the action that the Kings take. So we've got you pondering on an awful lot of things. And like I said, she's got this torch here. She's trying to illuminate something. She's trying to work something out. But we don't feel like we need any more information about it. We feel like we've got all of the information. We're just missing the synthesis point. And then when we've got the 4 of Swords here, which is a card that is often associated with the energy of taking a step back, taking a break, kind of resetting, healing somewhat sometimes after the energy of the 3 of Swords, which is the preceding card here in this sequence. I kind of feel like you don't know whether to stand up or sit down. Libra, that's the best way to put it. You don't know whether to stand up or sit down. You don't really feel like you know what's going on. You feel like you should. But everything feels quite discombobulating, a little bit overwhelming. And more than that, there is this layer of irritation over the top that that it's that close. You just got to reach for it. And this synthesis point of all the information that you're trying to process will all come together. But it's a bit like the Wheel of Fortune is so big and it's chuntering along in the background that it's almost like obscuring everything else, like this, right? It's kind of like almost can't see it because it's that close. And your attention is focused on this. But this sense that you're very close to working all of the things out, and that would be important for you to understand, is being somewhat obliterated by this kind of churning, rolling wheel that is doing something. And it feels like it's actually just making a noise where you would like a bit of peace and quiet to work things out. I mean, this is quite interesting. What's underneath that Queen of Wands? There's the King of Wands Interesting. Looks just like my boy, that. My eldest boy. Anyway. We can see the Queen of Wands in this reading here as a precursor to movement that will be taken, energy that will be expended. But we're not at that place yet. And I don't think you want to make any kind of movement until you understand what's going on. But the question is, why don't you understand? What is it? Tell me about this Page of Swords, please. Sorry about that clacking of the cards. Right, we've got the Six of Wands there. And we've got the Queen of Pentacles, another queen trying to help us understand. Now, the Three of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. This is a Cancer card. But it's the card of the social, right? It's a card of social relationships, our support networks, you know, emotional support networks. It's more than our one-on-one relationships. And I wonder if part of what's going on here is you feeling like you're not quite sure how to show up. Hey, double queens speak to an awful lot of internal processing going on. And in the case of the Queen of Pentacles, it's going to be very much around the idea of what has value. Like, what do we invest in because it is meaningful? And we would expect the king to take action on the grounds that the Queen of Pentacles works out. But this Six of Wands here feels like a question of doing what is right. Now, this is not always a meaning that I ascribe to the Six of Wands, because it's often more to do with visibility and being seen to be successful. But there's something relatively discreet about the way the Six of Wands is showing up this time, which feels like it's linked more to your integrity than anything else. This is not about visibility. This is not about being seen as being wonderful and, you know, being lionized. Lionized? Yeah. Lauded and whatnot. This feels like a moment of integrity issue. And the Page of Swords, which is usually a card of a kind of mental expansion where we are actively looking for and being discerning about new information, because it has that novel quality to it. It's like you're reining him in. I have a Scottish friend who has the most charming phrase when she's talking about what could happen in the future. She says, stop writing stories in my own head. I don't know if that's a common Scottish phrase or whatnot, but I think there's a desire here to deal with cold, hard reality. And you're trying to do that, and you're trying not to look too far ahead, and yet until you've worked out what the foundation of whatever you're dealing with is right now, particularly as it pertains to the relational, right? That you in amongst other people. But there's something really strange going on, because this question of integrity, which is actually a meaning that you could ascribe to the Queen of Pentacles as well, and I think perhaps all of the queens showing up in their best expression at least. It's like you're refusing to look any further ahead than, what do I stand for? What are my core principles? What are my values saying at this moment? And I was going to say something about you feeling kind of pulled in a few different directions, but I think it's probably more accurately described by this Wheel of Fortune that is causing a bit of centrifugal force. You're just trying to nail down the specifics of what you think and what you believe and what you stand for. And there's all this swirling energy in the middle of it, which means you don't know whether to stand up, sit down, lie down. It's kind of antsy, but it also feels like it's really, really important. Tell me about this Four of Swords. Why is the Four of Swords here on the side? Fuck's sake. Sorry, dropped it on the floor. It's the King of Wands, but the King of Wands is on his side. Oh, get him up. from down here, like so. Again, suspending action until we've worked out what we're doing. But this is the thing, it doesn't feel like it's coming easily, Libra. Right, suspending action when you're not sure is always a good thing, right? But to some extent, the Queen of Wands would be saying that, right? Well, no, we're not going to do anything yet because I haven't quite worked it out. And then there would be a case for the Four of Swords being in the upright. They're saying, no, I'm taking a step back. I'm trying to be objective about things. But it's like you don't know whether this is a doing issue or a thinking issue, right? It's almost like I'm not sure if this is my perspective or whether it's something that I'm not doing properly. But the Judgment card and the Eight of Wands and the Sun coming up together are quite striking. I mean, if you ascribe to the notion that the Judgment card represents Pluto, which some people do believe that it does, then we have an opposition twixt Sun and Pluto that will actually be happening during Leo season. Obviously, the Sun will be in Leo, Pluto will be in Aquarius, right across the other side of the zodiac. It'll actually happen before August. It'll happen in July, right? You seem to be putting an awful lot of pressure on yourself here. Look, Ten of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Now, that card for me is about recognition. It's the point of recognition where we've reached the limits of our own cognition, right? The container within which we've been trying to think, to process everything from situations to reality itself is insufficient. It's not providing answers. This lurch towards cognitive crisis, which I feel like the entire sword suit is how we mentally grow. It's how we expand our mind. But we also see that the Page of Swords is here, and it's almost like you're trying to keep everything down. But there are some really big decisions that are in the offing. Judgment and Wheel of Fortune that you can feel blowing in. I mean, this is quite literally a storm coming with this card here, right? And it's almost like you want to be as conscious as possible once it is time to make that decision. But it's like you've closed down on all external influences, on, all external sources of information. I'm not going to criticize that. I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. But I do want to point out that there are 3 cards that when any of them show up, more than 2 of them in a reading, that we have some big kind of destiny stuff going on. And those 3 cards are Judgment, Justice, and the Judgment card. Well, here we have the Wheel of Fortune and Justice, completing 2 of the 3 cards and formulating the basis for such stuff. But you can't see it. This is the problem. You can't see what it is, but you can feel it blowing in on the wind. With this much agitation going on in the signs of, in your fellow air signs of Aquarius and Gemini, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't feel the churn somewhere, because you will. Huge outer planets in other air signs is going to, at the very least, start fanning a draft, right? But I'm not sure I've ever seen you quite so internally focused as you are right now, even refusing to contemplate what this big karmic turn that's incoming, that will require some kind of judgment from you, could possibly hold. I think part of this sort of the tiredness that I'm picking up on from you is because you are interrogating really hard everything to do with your internal space. Again, I'm not going to criticize that. I think that that's a great thing to do, and I think more people should do it. However, I would also advocate for embodying energies rather than trying to intellectually break them down in your head. And I wonder if you're getting stuck in your head with this one. Libra, a little bit. That would be understandable. So let's have a look and see what's going on. What's this issue for Libra? So we have... Fuck off. We've got the Justice card. Okay, that's fine. We've got the Ace of Pentacles showing up here. And yeah, I mean, for sure. Two of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Now, this is important because this very much is the coping versus thriving versus surviving kind of energy of how do I make sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with what I actually believe, right? But it's got even more significance when we consider the fact that we've got the Ace of Pentacles on the table. So there is that's where I want to go. This is what's initiating over here, but the energy is up, down, and I would say to some extent not clearly understood by you at the moment. We see the Justice card here on its side. This completes the trifecta that I was talking about, but it also has an additional level of specificity for you because it represents the sign of Libra. Pin that for a second. Then over here we have the Ten of Swords showing up again, and this one's really significant. You know, the message is being doubled down. But we have this Virgo card of the Knight of Pentacles showing up on its side. Now this is significant because the South Node currently at the point of filming is in the sign of Virgo. It is getting ready to shift into Leo. And I think it was for the last couple of seasons I've pointed out that there seems to have been a resurgence of South Node themes that have been coming up really, really strongly, right? So there's two ways of looking at this. Because the node doesn't move, the nodes don't move until, oh, I had it written down somewhere, I can't remember, right? But true node moves at some point, and it's like the very end of July or something like that. Mean node follows a couple of weeks later. That maybe we're getting a big, you know, final blast of that before we shift, and this shift will happen in Leo season. Or it is part of this frustration and confusion about how to move forwards in a meaningful fashion with those values that we were talking about up here, front and center. So we still haven't quite worked them out yet. And because we haven't worked them out, the Knight of Pentacles is known, well, I can't really go anywhere. I've got all of this energy and I would like to go somewhere. I would like to lead with what is important, but unfortunately, I haven't quite worked out what is important yet, so I can't do it. It's almost like, at least for the first part of this month, there is a needing to sit with what is ending, a needing to sit with what is uncomfortable, needing to tolerate all of the swords until we arrive at a place where we can recognize a new set of priorities that are emerging that somehow reflect your core principles. Now, let's whip back here to the Justice card. The fact that the Justice card is on its side is speaking to some aspect of your identity here, Libra. Now, when we think about Libra in terms of the scales, right? And I'm talking about the two dishes hanging off a chain, right, on a little frame. These are, it's a balancing mechanism, right? This is very important to Libra as a thing. But what we don't have when we reverse that energy is a lack of balance. Why? Because those two dishes on those chains will also come down to the same place. No, they can't hold anything, and no, they can't do the measuring terribly well, but to some extent or another, they are still relatively balanced. If you were to take said same scales and try and balance them on their end, in fact, you know, if you've no idea what I'm talking about, perhaps I need to show you the coin that is associated. Right? I'm talking about those kinds of scales there. Now try and imagine that you were balancing it on one of its outer edges. You wouldn't get what you would have if you turned it upside down, which is that both dishes drop. You'd have clattering and you know, wobbling around all over the place. So very, very difficult, if not impossible, to balance those scales on its side. And yet this is what is happening here. Now, I think, no, I don't think, it's coming through very strongly that there is something that is changing on a fundamental level with you. And I think it's really important, Libra, that you understand that you are in that place of transition right now. And that to some extent, I would suggest that you need to allow things to be unstable. Now, this is going to feel very uncomfortable, and it's very much in alignment with this two sets of tens of swords, right? Ten of Swords. But we have the Wheel of Fortune and we have the Judgment card showing up. So there's something about this that needs to happen this way. And when it comes to trying to check one's thinking and try and check how much we understand something, you know, do all of the internal stuff, if we're going to reach the limits of our cognition on something, if we're going to have that breakthrough moment where consciousness bursts through onto a new level and we kind of go, oh, God, I can't believe I was doing it like that before, which is generally how it happens, right? Then that state of discomfort is going to have to be held for just a little bit longer. I don't think it's going to be held for the entirety of Leo season. I'll be really clear about that. I do think that we've got some big breakthrough energies here. But part of the confusion is the liminality of the space that you're in right now, where we are not quite at a new mode of thinking, but we haven't quite closed out the door on what was wrong with the old pattern of thinking. Oh, let me correct my language there. There was nothing wrong with the old pattern of thinking, but it is something that you are now outgrowing. And the reason that it feels like it's very, very close is because quite literally it is, but you're just being asked to hold that state of discomfort for a little bit longer. And the discomfort's in the instability and the lack of balance until a new way emerges, a new type of thinking emerges, a new understanding of value emerges. You're not being asked to make solid decisions right now. And although you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to try and get everything solid in your head, like now is not the time. Yes, there are things there are mechanisms that are working away in the background, but you know, maybe part of what's missing here is just a little bit of faith in yourself and a bit of trust that you will make the right decision, that you will be just, that you will be balanced, that you will be discerning about where you put your energy and when. I mean, it's possible that some of this is coming off the back of a realization that you haven't been particularly discerning. And, you know, sometimes that can cause a little bit of CPTSD when it comes to trying to make some sort of decision again, not long afterwards. But no, there's a transitional state here. And with this Ace of Pentacles in the middle, it's not asking you to look for something else to put your energy into. It's like this moment of discomfort will be a fertile bed from which many things will spring if you can allow yourself to hold your attention on it, right? So what I felt like you were doing anyway is actually what you're being asked to continue, because you will know when the breakthrough happens. That's really, really clear, because we bounce from Ace of Pentacles to Two of Pentacles via the medium of the Ten of Swords. Something in your head is going to change. The way that you perceive things is going to change. Your perception itself is going to alter. And what you are working so hard to try and understand actually will spring up quite holistically at the point where you allow yourself to hold that state of tension. You don't have to grind all of your gears so that you've got steam coming out of your ears or anything like that. It's actually in some ways it's a kind of softer process than you are putting yourself through, but at the same time we can't ignore the fact that the Ten of Swords is there, and so it is by definition kind of uncomfortable. Right? And let's not say soft discomfort, because that doesn't really make any sense, right? It's kind of sharp and it's kind of spiky, and it's exactly as uncomfortable as you would expect it to be. But with all things, this too shall pass. Can't tell you how many times I have told myself that. I've just chanted it to myself like a mantra in my head: this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Because it's true. The only consistent thing is that everything changes, and so whatever is feeling kind of intractable right now will not stay that way forever, because it can't. And rather than trying to force yourself to work out what is important, I would suggest hold the state of discomfort and allow the universe to show it to you. Like I said, it feels like it's going to spring up unbidden. It is not something that needs to be forced, but once you have that, then you can start moving forwards. But you're going to be moving forwards in a changed state, which is worth paying attention to, you know? So let's have a look and see. What is the next step for Libra, please? Fucking hell, there it goes again. So that was the sun. Let's get the sun. Oh, here it is. We have the Judgment card. Let's get and we have the Four of Pentacles. Right, this is interesting because the Eight of Swords is at the bottom of the deck as well. The next step is to realize that first off, it's not time to make the decisions yet, so you can just calm. Just breathe for a minute, right? There are life-changing things happening as we speak. But the time to make the decision is not yet. The time to start changing things is not yet. There will be a moment for that. But I'm also concerned about you getting stuck in your own head, and I feel like the Eight of Swords is really confirming that for me. This is not something that you can reason your way through, Libra. And I know that sounds obnoxious, but it isn't. It's something that is simply asking to be held in its state, so that the answers may come to you unbidden. I feel like the biggest issue here is one of resistance rather than not really understanding. Although you can absolutely not understand your own resistances to something, right? The Eight of Swords here is particularly in combination with the 10 is the act of locking ourselves up in a state where we feel like we can't move, like we don't have any options or whatnot. Now, the beauty of the Eight of Swords is it's actually got the solution baked into it. Like, we need to go back and check our base assumptions for things. We need to check the order in which we made decisions to see if we discarded potential routes forwards at that point because they didn't seem viable versus, you know, where we are right now. Like I said, I don't think that there is a problem with how hard you're thinking about this, but I also don't think that thinking about this is the way through. This Sun card here says there is an emergent consciousness that is coming from you. So if we can reframe what you are experiencing right now, Libra, and say, okay, well, definitely for the next 2 weeks or so, the energy that you've been in is going to be exactly as it is, right? And if you are uncomfortable, then that's probably the right place for you. But don't wear out your brain cells trying to make sense of it. That's not what the energy is about. It's just sustain, maintain, and let the universe show you what you are resisting. Because ultimately, with this Four of Pentacles, it is a card of resistance. It is a card of holding on to things a little bit too hard. But it can equally be a card of those things that are so foundational and so important that they actually should carry on with us. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I feel when it comes to things like your core values, your principles, what do I stand for? Like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? You know, what legacy do I want to leave? All these kind of big questions. Is it even right that those would be intellectual positions? Should they be intellectual positions? Or should there be something that you feel in your soul? I mean, the advice here is to just pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on inside. Pay attention to what's going on outside. Pay attention to what is maintaining, and also pay attention to what is drifting away as you stop trying to resist it. It's like, are you resisting the discomfort? Is this what's been going on? And we can resist by trying to understand it, you know, rather than just being in it and embodying that energy. Whichever way that it is, certainly for the next week or two, there's no movement really in any direction. So can you hold still? And if the answer is no, I can't sit still, as per the you don't know whether to stand up, sit down, lie down, do anything, right? There's a kind of restlessness here. Then maybe that in and of itself may actually turn out to be the issue, the point of resistance. This is curious, but you're changing, Libra, and you really do have to allow it to happen rather than trying to almost dictate its resolution by way of your understanding. Like, meaning is ascribed after the fact. And sometimes you just got to go through something to come out the other side. Almost always. Turning back is never really an option. It's that something really big is changing here, and it's asking you to just sit with it, let it happen. It's not really a trust the process, it's stop fucking resisting the process, because everything happens in its own time, right? And sometimes the discomfort that we can maintain is actually the vehicle for change. Instead of fighting it, we surrender to it, we allow it to happen, guided by the discomfort. This is really interesting, Libra. Right, I'm going to go over to the extended now. If you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Circle, you can do that on Selfie. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. I'm going to go do the extended now, and we're going to dig into this a little bit, because you can't have this much big energy without there being some pretty sensational changes coming up in your not too distant future. But in the right here, right now, there's something more important that needs to be dealt with first. So we will look at this in the extended and see if we can find a way to navigate through that is not contingent solely on you intellectually understanding it, you know. All right, I'll leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.